Hello and welcome back to Zodiac Sisters with Life Cycles Yoga. My name is Serena. I'm the owner of Life Cycles Yoga. And I have Tonja here for
Hello.
Zodiac Sisters. We are going to share with you the month of March. We're going to be chatting about this hugely transitional month in terms of our new year and also just with the cosmic weather. I mean, there's so much going on astrologically in March that, oh my gosh, I don't even know if we're going to be able to fit it all in, but we will definitely touch upon it. And we have a lot to chat about today with these big shifts. Yeah, wow. So Zodiac Sisters is just a monthly podcast here on our YouTube channel to connect with everybody about the planet movement, the astrological aspects going on, the big shifts and changes. And then we also chat a lot about just our own life and how that is affected through the cycles of our own life and our own chart. So that maybe you can learn a little bit of astrology, learn a little bit about yoga. Yeah, and so I am a 500 experienced hour registered yoga teacher here based in Longmont. We're based in Longmont, Colorado. Also an astrologer. And Tonja, you want to give a little info about yourself?
Yeah. My name's Tonja. I'm certified in 200-hour level yoga and recently certified in a vagal toning breathwork sequence. Also am obsessed with personality assessments or inventories. So I'm certified in Myers-Briggs, super love the Enneagram and anything related to that realm.
Nice.
All about me.
Yeah, awesome. And it's a big month for Tonja. It's her birthday month. So we'll be chatting about solar returns and how it feels going into your new solar return for your year. So we'll talk about that because Pisces season, Tonja is a Pisces and I am a Virgo. And so that's part of the reason we call this Zodiac Sisters is because they are sister signs, Virgo and Pisces. They are also called opposing signs as well in the astrological wheel. So why don't we dive in?
Let's do it.
Before we start chatting about February and how that went, just want to say sorry about the technological difficulties last
We
month.
had a little, yeah.
We were in still in the Mercury shadow, the Mercury retrograde shadow time. So it was just it was just a lot going on during that time in order to get the recording done. But that's how we show up, right? We show up being vulnerable and authentic. We just want to bring our whole selves to this experience. I mean, this is very new for us. And one thing that we do best is chat together and talk about life, talk about experience, and especially what's going on in the cosmos, because we practice yoga together every Tuesday and Thursday mornings, Life Cycles Yoga. And so Tuesday and Thursday mornings, it has just been amazing the past almost 2.5 years now. 6 a.m. Mountain Time if you're interested. And we work with the cycles of the zodiac, mainly where the sun is, and then the new moon and the full moon. And of course, I chat a little bit about what's going on for that particular week as well. So we can really understand and dive deep into the patterns that we hold, into our relationships, into our communication, into possible surprises and awakenings as well with all the different planets and the responsibilities that we hold. There is such magic in understanding that. So sorry about that, and hopefully nothing will happen today, but if so, we'll just go with the flow. February, we're going to wrap up and talk a little bit about how February felt to us. We are recording this in the last couple days of February. And so we like to sort of reflect, especially just on the full moon and the new moon in February, right? And so February is mostly encompassed with Aquarius season. And there was a full moon on February 5th in Leo. Now, the full moon is always the opposite sign of what the sun is in. So the sun was in Aquarius. And so the full moon is the opposite sign in Leo. And these are the basics of astrology, just kind of understanding that cycle and pattern. The full moon And then 2 weeks later is a new moon. So the phases of the moon start with a new moon. So that's why we always say, make new beginnings, new intentions, plant new seeds, new mantras for a new moon. And then that cycle goes 2 weeks later, that's a full moon. And that's kind of an analysis of your new moon goal, your new moon intention, and a letting go, kind of shifting and saying, this isn't working for me. Letting go, releasing, surrendering, because something is being spotlighted. So a big spotlight, it's an illuminary because the sun is shining fully on the moon. And then 2 weeks after the full moon is another new moon. And this is significant to know because we're going to be talking about the eclipses come our April video, because our first eclipses are coming up April 20th. But we have a taste of that eclipse in March, and we'll get to that. So we had the full moon on February 5th, and it was in Leo, and it was very fiery. It was out expressive and creative and passionate. I can't think of anything significant that happened around that time.
Me either. Yeah, me either.
I usually have like fuller energy around a full moon and can't sleep very well, or I have weird dreams. But I love when new moons and full moons, any moon is in a fire sign, because most of my chart is earth and water.
Yeah.
So earth and water are not super go-getters. Okay. They're like more of like consistency, persistence, working on the task, getting it done, very, very realistic. But then when fire comes into play, I finally feel like I can get something done, and I feel really creative and excited. I just mentioned this week I was texting my friend Secret, and she's an Aries, and it was an Aries moon, and I was like, I'm getting so much done. I feel so productive. I know, how do you, like, I love this energy of Aries. And she's like, until you burn out. And I was like, that's true, right? Like that fiery sense is like the burnout. That's kind of the negative side of the fire signs, but yeah, when a moon is in fire, I feel very excited and passionate. So because it really helps my earth actually move forward. So, yeah. What about you for the full moon in Leo?
I'm having trouble connecting back to that time. I think that time was a lot more almost a little bit more restful for me. I was just coming off a really high activity weekend before. So I think my fire might have been more embers that weekend, just kind of like chilling out that weekend. And then, as we'll talk about, my February definitely did pick up after that.
Yeah, because it's also really community based.
Yeah.
Because Aquarius is community. And one thing, I just checked my calendar like for that time, and I remember the Leo is that I did 2 chart readings that weekend for Leos. And they both had the same rising sign, and I forget what it was, or the same moon. They had like significantly the same chart, but they were a few years apart in age. But I was just like blown away. I love when I have readings like that, where the full moon pulls either, whatever sign that is, a very significant population to me. So actually I did 3 readings that weekend that had very significant Leo signs. So Leo rising and 2 Leo suns. That's right. So like typically around the new moon and full moon, I find, not even trying, that people come to me to do readings for their sign, like their natal chart. And then they have these significant Zodiac signs, and something's going on that weekend for full moon or new moon. And I love when that happens. That's like so magical.
So magical. Yeah. I'm actually, as you were talking, I'm like, I remember what happened that first weekend. Actually, I think it was on the full moon. I'm starting to work with an embodiment coach. And so we had a 3.5-hour session on the 5th. That she actually had a fire going. I went to her beautiful home for the session, and it was really, I would say that was like, that stoked something in me
inside of you.
Yeah, it's one of my words for the year is embodiment. So
really
learning how to get into my body versus always living in my head. It's one of the impetus for working with her. So
that's powerful, and you mentioned like stoking that fire within. We call that in yoga tapas, and that's one of the yamas. And so this fire, this passion, this heat within us that keeps driving us forward.
Yeah.
If that light and that fire goes out within you, that's like when a lot of depression happens, or you feel like you're not really making progress, or that you don't have any purpose in this world. So connecting with that tapas, that passion within you, that purpose that you feel is really important. And I love that your word is embodiment, and that you found like a coach to embody that word.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love talking. I think this is really pertinent in terms of the conversation for Pisces season that just started in February as well, because you're a Pisces 3 times, Venus, Sun, and Mercury. And Pisces is a feeler, but what she mentioned was that living in her head, and she was born on a full moon, and that's in Virgo. And Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and that is the emotional self. She's thinking a lot.
Right. I do a lot of intellectualizing.
A lot of analysis, a lot of logic, a lot of reality.
That's right. Which I actually really appreciate about myself. And I can overuse that to the point that I'm almost disassociating from the emotional experience that's happening in my body, which is also data and information. So
100%.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And the full moon, I mean, you're going to be driven by the moon more so. Because you were born on that.
Yes.
So leaving the Pisces qualities and being more drawn towards that Virgo effect of your Virgo moon. Wow. Yeah. So we'll talk about like that solar return soon for Tonja, and what that means too for yourself as well. So yeah, and then Pisces season. So when we did the February video, I was like, it's a relatively quiet month. And it really was, because there weren't any massive shifts like we're going to talk about for March. Okay. And the massive shifts for March are definitely different than February. February didn't have any huge shifts. I mean, there was just the sun moving into Pisces, and then I think Mercury switched signs, but because it's a fast planet, Mercury changes signs like one or two times a month. So it's really fast. But the significance of February is strong. Like people that I've been talking to have been feeling very down, very depressed, very sad. There's not been a lot of excitement or newness, or it almost feels like it didn't pick up yet in terms of feeling like working towards goals. I know January we had so much in retrograde, so many planets in retrograde, that February I expected or assumed that we would feel like, okay, now we're gonna like start moving forward. And that was very naive of me, because we're still in winter.
Yeah, we are in a heavy winter this
We're
year.
in a heavy winter, and especially in the whole United States. That's where we're recording from. So we're speaking from our experience of being in the Northern Hemisphere and in the United States. So it's been a very heavy winter for most of the states. And a different kind of winter, of course, in the South, because it's not cold and snowing, but there's been a lot of storms and a lot of heaviness, weather destruction, and then especially across the world with the earthquake, in Syria and Turkey, and the shootings and the stabbings. And I feel like the collective is just really struggling, and I feel it myself, that struggle. Of like, I don't want to put on that facade of everything is wonderful and happy and great and we're doing great, because it's not, it's a lot of us are having a hard time, if not in our personal life, but like supporting others in the collective and just feeling into like that horrible news cycle. I mean, is there anything good in the world right now? Like what? And I know there is. I always tell my kids, not every day is good, but there's something good in every day. But it's been hard to stay. Thank you. It's been hard to stay positive. It's been hard to stay. I don't know, not so much like the positive, but like feeling that, I don't know, something is something to look forward to, or I don't know how to explain it. It's just been feeling way more introspective, and maybe that's just me, but I don't know, the collective has seemed a little bit down lately with friends and family and just seeing out in the world. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, I think for my Aquarius season in February, I was definitely feeling a lot of connection to community, and that could have been through, people experiencing some darker times or some lighter times, but just
Yeah.
the connection to community has felt really highlighted for me,
That's amazing.
which has been awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's awesome to experience that. And I think for me, also in Aquarius season, I mean, I was very much in my head a lot. This is sort of a theme for me right now.
Yeah.
So that air sign, I think, was really going to town with me during the month.
Air signs are very intellectual and in their heads a lot. Thinking, researching, learning, talking, networking,
Definitely a lot of that going on.
Yeah. I mean, touching upon that community feeling, I think that's what has been really beautiful about Aquarius season for me, myself, and with my Life Cycles yoga students and community, and just being together. Had a few more students join, and writing their reports, and connecting with them personally and practicing with them in the morning and sharing with them has been really, really lovely, and heartfelt and important. And especially also in my classes, like at the Longmont Climbing Collective at Shri Studios, their studio there. And it's just been so lovely having new students, and then also connecting with the students that have been coming for a long time and hearing about their lives and sharing. I felt more creative and more rebellious too. Like I felt really rebellious and like creating my classes for the past month. Which is Aquarius season, that rebellion. It's ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is the planet of awakening and enlightenment. And I love that planet because sometimes it can bring you situations, relationships, events that are earth shattering, life shattering, literally earth shattering, like earthquakes, but to shift you also in a different direction. So just leaning into that sort of feeling of what happened in February for you that changed your perspective.
What's your mantra again for February?
For February for Aquarius season, it was knowing and loving myself as an act of rebellion.
That's awesome. How did that feel?
It feels really good. I feel like I've done a lot of work to understand what keeps me going and what I love and what turns me on, like these excitement for classes and learning and sharing. And that feels really good. And learning, I'm still like learning how to love myself. I mean, as a Virgo, like Virgos tend to not put emphasis on the self. Virgo and Pisces are, selfless devotion to like helping others, healing others. And I often lose myself in that. And so I, work on that as well and focus on me. What was your mantra? Do you remember?
I courageously participate in life. And I think
how'd that go?
I think I really aligned with that mantra for Aquarius seasons. One of the operative words being courageous, like really leaning into things that were maybe a little outside the comfort zone. But also just really being a participant of life. As someone who's more introvert preferring, I definitely I like to hold up. I like to introspect. I like to journal and read, and a lot of solo activities are actually really fulfilling for me. So leaning into a different form, a more extroverted participation in life. I was glad I had a mantra to sort of get me in that space.
That's interesting. And I like to know that because Aquarius season is the season before your solar return. Okay. So it's your 12th house, or not 12th house. In your solar chart, it's your 12th house. Not in your natal chart. So there's two different types of charts. Like we can go by, and I know this gets confusing, but when you're born, you have a natal chart where there's a snapshot of the sky. And that shows us the houses and the time that you're born, like creates the houses for you, because your rising sign is the constellation that was rising on the eastern horizon. But then if you think of a solar chart for your solar return, and we often only read our horoscopes for our solar, for our sun.
That's what's usually in like newspapers.
In
and
newspapers,
magazines,
they're telling you read it for your sun sign,
Yeah.
but for more accuracy, you should read it for your rising
Rising.
sign.
Yeah.
So read it for your rising sign and then your sun sign. So the solar chart for you, because you're Pisces, the solar chart has Aquarius as your 12th house. And that oftentimes is most apparent in our feeling, in our physical body, our emotional self, processing in our mind, right before our birthday. So the season before our birthday can be a more introspective time.
Okay.
It can be more of a time that we're sort of reflecting back on the last 12 months of our life, because our birthday is like a new beginning.
That's
it's
right.
a birth, like
Yeah.
you're reborn into a new cycle.
Mm.
So people sometimes find that month or season before their birthday is hard. But it sounds like you kind of counteracted that with courageous movement forward.
Yeah, I did. I feel like there was a lot of courageous movement,
Mhm.
activity, getting outside of my house.
Yeah.
And then again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but the aspect of community was just so present for me. So so that was a great way to wrap up my solar year, because
definitely
it felt like it was really just beautiful, and I feel really connected. And I feel excited for this new Pisces rebirth season for me. Yeah.
Does it feel different than other birthday seasons? Like if you reflect back on, a year before, 2 years before, 3 years before your Aquarius season, does it feel this way? Or does it feel different this year?
That's interesting. I think it feels, well, actually, if I look back to, I don't know if I can remember 2 years back, but I remember 1 year back, and I do remember January, so Capricorn and Aquarius season being very, very busy, and it was actually very, very dark. I would put that in the dark category.
Yes.
So this year, I felt the same level of intensity, but it's felt more light. So
I love that.
Yeah. So
Wow.
so I feel like the entry into this year is like I'm being set up for something, I don't know, kind of cool. I don't know if that,
And I think, this year feels a little bit different for you. And I feel like you really needed that. It's almost like the universe told you, look, what you faced in the past year, especially for the last birthday.
Exactly.
You have that courage within you. And that light was inside, that fire was inside. And it's like, this is the power of knowing your cycles. This is the power of knowing yourself. This is the power of watching or like feeling into the cycles of your returns. Where this year, what you've been through, right? And you're starting a whole new decade in March. This is wrapping up, and you said, you know what, it's going to feel different, and I'm going to move into a new space with that. And you did that. I mean, you really leaned into that courage and bravery.
Thank you. I appreciate that reflection.
Which you cultivated even more so over the past year.
Absolutely.
And everything that you sort of faced.
I feel
came
like
more naturally. It was like, okay,
that's
I
true.
got this. I'm in it.
That's true. I mean, it's still messy, and I still am a human being who's practicing every day. And there's a level of confidence, assurance that, and even like a willingness to be in a space of unknown. I just feel like there's more of a courageousness to be in that space than I have had in any other point in my life.
Absolutely. Yep. So good. So back to February, Pisces season. The sun did move into Pisces on the 18th of February. And that was a Friday, I believe. 19th of February. Anyway, so it was last weekend. And so it is a time, you know, where that house where Pisces is illuminated in your chart, right? So I talk about this a lot in my classes and also in these videos, where print out your natal chart when you're watching this video. Because what you want to do is you want to find the Pisces sign. You can Google Pisces symbol and find the Pisces symbol in your chart, because that house, and you always read your chart counterclockwise. So the house that Pisces starts is the house that it governs. And the sun is there. So this is called a transit. So the sun is transiting through that house, and the sun is providing that warmth and that nourishment and that fertilization, this life force energy for you into that house. It's motivating you. It's a positive thing. And then we can go a little bit deeper into, well, the new moon and full moon, of course. The new moon will be in the same house if you do a whole house system. And then the new moon or the full moon is the opposite house. So new beginnings in the house with the sun, releasing in the opposite house. And the new moon was only 2 days after the sun moved into Pisces. And actually, my daughter had her 13th birthday on the 17th. She's an Aquarius. Funny story. I tried to hold her in to make her a Pisces and could not do that. I couldn't hold out any longer. I was like in labor for 3 days, and I'm like, give me 5 more hours, 5 more hours. It was literally 5 hours away.
It's so close.
So close. But I love Aquarius. It's great. I have a family lineage, a genealogy of Aquarius and Cancer birthdays.
Right on.
So she just, that's what I have then, like aunts, uncles, sister, mom, everybody's like Aquarius and Cancer, and those are my 2 girls, Aquarius and Cancer. The universe was like, you're not gonna break this. You're having that daughter as an Aquarius. But anyway, we got to go to California for her birthday to celebrate her birthday. And because we'd always wanted to go to Universal Studios, and for her 13th birthday, we decided to do that. But the biggest thing for me was Aquarius season started next to the ocean. And Aquarius is literally the epitome of the ocean. Like that's the sign. Like that is the body of water that Pisces is associated with, and so on the Pacific coast. And that was just a really beautiful experience for me. I mean, it's probably a once in a lifetime experience, honestly. If I can go to the ocean for every start of Pisces season, I will. So maybe we could make this, I know, like amazing. And the new moon that day too, to be there for that Pisces, the end of our cycle. So for everybody, I mean, Pisces season is the last sign of the zodiac. And it is shifting us into March this week, March 1st. And the qualities of Pisces, where we have, it's the last sign. So it embodies and encompasses all the other signs. It takes all of those other signs and puts it into the womb of our experience over the last 12 months of our astrological year. And it says, what did you learn? What did you process? What nourished you? What didn't nourish you? What relationships did you have? What events happened? How are you feeling? And Pisces wants us, to embody those feelings and say, what's ending? This is for us in the Northern Hemisphere. It's the last month of winter, and winter has been cold and snowy, at least for us here in Colorado. Which is different for us because we usually have a pretty warm winter, like 50 degrees, at least on the range, not in the mountains.
We get snow, and then we get sun, and this year the sun has been not as prevalent.
It's been elusive and not melting the snow, so we're having a real winter. But so the last month of winter anywhere, really, like where you're experiencing, especially what is that called, the seasonal affective disorder, like that's really hard. And I know the last month of winter can be tough. And so the sun is moving into Aries in March, and we'll chat about that, which is the first day of spring equinox, when the day and the night are equal.
that.
So good. So Pisces season, you know, selfless devotion, compassion, universal love, creativity and the arts and spirituality, a really wonderful time for divination, tarot cards, astrology, spiritual ritual, anything that has to do with connecting with something bigger and grander than ourselves. I think those are like the really beautiful aspect or qualities of Pisces, and volunteering and donating your time and helping others is really big during Pisces season. We really start to feel into that we're all human, that we're all here on earth, that we are all a part of this movement of the bigger cycle.
Yeah.
You know, our lives are so short. I mean, you know, less than 100 years for most of us, right? And you think about the time of the world. And I don't know, we were at the Griffith Observatory in LA. It's all about the planets and the void and the universe. And it just really puts you into perspective of like, what's out there, you know? And it was so Pisces season to be there on that day that the sun moved into Pisces, of like, what's out there, who's out there, you know, what is the universe, how big is it, the void, you know, like, how did it start, and where are these lights coming from? And it's just such a beautiful way to, and it also can be really scary, you know, like, are we the only ones? I mean, in our solar system, we're the only planet with life, like this kind of life, at least, which is crazy. The third rock from the sun to think about. Anyway, went off into this existential rant there, which is very Pisces season. I think that's the flip side of Pisces season though too, is that the negative or the most challenging side of Pisces season is that we don't want to face reality. Like, we don't want to pay the bills. We don't want to do the laundry. We don't want to have a routine. We just want to sit in bliss. We want to take walks outside.
Really true. Yeah.
Listen to music and cuddle and rest and not have a schedule. And I find that very, very difficult during Pisces season. That's the difficult part for me as a Virgo anyway. It's like, all my Virgo tendencies fly out the window. I'm like, I can't do any of this. I'm not writing down, you know, like I'm not writing down meal lists, and I don't want to lean into like the whole crazy schedule of the kids and the work and the yoga, and just want to walk outside and feel the sun. You know, I want to float in the hot tub. That's Pisces season.
That's Pisces, floating.
Yeah.
Step back and float.
Step back and float. And you know, mentioning that, and talk about your mantra.
My mantra actually was spawned from Life Cycles Yoga last Thursday. Where Sirena said a phrase as we were doing yoga, that kind of equating it to Pisces season, of this sensation of stepping back and float. And that really landed for me. So that is my mantra for Pisces season. In contrast to the high activity that I had in, I would say, Capricorn and Aquarius season. I think this is the counterbalance that I actually need right now. And what a better season to try on this mantra.
True. I love that, you know, and in Life Cycles Yoga, we chat every Tuesday and Thursday morning. I mean, because we're working with the cycles of the sun and the moon, we always choose like a new mantra for the Zodiac season that starts. And it can be connected to our whole year word goal mantra, or it doesn't have to be, you know, and it just gives us something, a sentence or word or something that we can hold on to, we can reflect on, write in our journals, because, you know, growth and change happen when we stay consistent and persistent, and we have the ritual, which gives us the sacredness of our life and the changes that we're making and the work that we're doing in the practice, right? This is a practice. And so my mantra for Pisces season stemmed a little bit from Aquarius season, because I had, you know, knowing and loving myself as an act of rebellion in Aquarius season. And so for Pisces season, mine is rest in the knowing. And Pisces season really is let go and let God, let it flow, let it go and let it flow, step back and float, quit swimming up against the river, quit walking against the wind, quit trying to do things that just aren't working, because that's the universe telling you that this is not the path for you. You need to switch gears. Rest in the knowing. Pisces is an intuitive sign. So the water signs are considered connected with the third eye, right? The pineal gland, and the crown chakra. So these connections to spirit, to intuition, to a knowing that is bigger than ourselves. And it comes a little bit more natural for water signs, or if you have a lot of water placements, or you have a lot of planets or emphasis on the water houses, which are 4, 8, and 12 are the water houses. So rest in the knowing, I want to stop pushing forward so much and say, okay, I'm going to take a step back and float, kind of like love it, stay in that.
I know.
So yeah, Pisces season is, like I mentioned, the last month of winter, and then we're going to be moving into Aries season in March. So why don't we chat a little bit? Anything else to say about February?
When you just said float there, I always felt like, oh, we are going to go float. We are planning a hot springs trip.
Amazing.
On March 18th to celebrate my solar return, and that feels really appropriate.
So does. Very water, very healing, because
Yeah.
Pisces is also a very healing sign. So going to a hot springs and with community too.
That's right.
Your community of your friends. That's going to be really awesome. And it's right before the sun enters Aries. So the last part of the sun in Pisces, and celebrating a birthday for our favorite Pisces. Well, good. So, moving into March, and a lot of people like to have March goals, right? Well, for Life Cycles Yoga, we work more with like the Zodiac season. So not so much with March 1st, right?
Exactly.
But we do this video for March 1st so that you kind of understand the cycles of what's happening with the planets, and March is big. So we have, I don't even know where to begin. Okay, we're just kind of like, oh my gosh. So March 2nd, Mercury, the sign of communication and of talking and learning and networking, messages. It's going to enter Pisces. It's in Aquarius, March 2nd. So this coming week, right after the 1st of March, it's going to enter Pisces, which is a Mercury return for you.
It is.
So
return, yes.
That means like a solar return is a birthday. She returns back to the sun in Pisces she was born with. And then a Mercury return is when Tonja is moving into Mercury is in the sign that she's born with. So Mercury in Pisces.
Okay.
Then very quickly, Mercury moves very fast. It's closest to the sun, right? And the orbit with the Mercury is fast versus like Pluto that changes signs every 15 to 20 years. Mercury changes every 3 to 4 weeks, something like that. It's crazy. And then Mercury moves into Aries on the 19th of March. So we have 2 shifts there for Mercury communication. What does that mean? Mercury is how we talk and how we show up in the world with our expression of what we're voicing, how we're using our words, how we're writing. And it's our thinking mind. So how we're thinking, and Mercury in Pisces, again, does not like reality. It wants to stay in the dreaminess and the illusion, in the bliss and the enlightenment. So it might be a little bit hard to get practical, get really practical this month of March, because Pisces is there, but it's really good for creativity. So being able to lean into that creativity of Pisces, connecting with spirit, divination, and tarot cards. If you have a question, I like to put these things up on social media on Mondays, message Mondays. If you have a question that you're really is weighing heavy on your shoulders, weighing heavy on your heart, asking through divination can be very insightful and helpful. Like tarot cards, runes, oracle cards, meditations, things like that can be really helpful during that time. And then Mercury moves into Aries and you want to express yourself. It's more fiery and courageous and brave. So if you're looking to say something, Pisces is not on the braver side. It's a little bit more cautious, and because it doesn't want to hurt others, it loves, it's a lover. Aries is like, though, I'm going to say what I'm going to say and you're going to listen to me.
Yep.
You understand me? It's more abrasive. Okay.
Sure.
I mean, as a native Pisces in Mercury, I was going to read something here. Actually, I marked it.
Sweet.
Mercury in Pisces is the sign of psychic revelation, and Mercury in the sign gives you a subtle and intuitive mind. There's an air of mystery. You feel into sort of that knowledge of the universe.
Yes.
As a Mercury Piscean, do you see or do you feel into that intuition? Do you feel into that creativity? Like, where do you creatively express yourself, you think?
Where do I creatively express myself? Definitely through journaling and writing. That is probably my number one way that I use my creative expression. I just even say through conversation.
Conversation.
That feels like a creative expression to me,
Yeah,
especially when I'm having a conversation about, more depth-filled topics that are, and spirituality and mystery feel like topics that they're right for me right now. In terms of exploration and really kind of get a more of an embodied understanding of what those mean in my life.
I love that you mentioned depth.
Because
Pisces is like the ocean, and depth of conversation would be really important to those water signs.
Oh, it's so important.
And being able to, I mean, Mercury is very cerebral, where Pisces adds an edge of, what does it feel like in my body? How do I feel in my emotional self? So it's a really beautiful combination.
Thanks.
You're welcome. One thing with Pisces season or having a lot of Pisces placements, like the challenging side is the escapism. Where it's like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to deal with the energy or the people. And it is more introverted, where you may want to more so escape through things. Like the smaller part of escape is like just not answering the emails, right? Just leaving them or not looking at your mail. I think, and then it keeps growing from there in terms of like, the most intense version of escapism is like alcoholism and drug abuse, right? I mean, there's all of that, all the abuses or addictions and things. So we got to watch that during Pisces season. And if you have a lot of Pisces placements, really understanding the tools and resources available to you to help you understand your feelings, processing, therapy, yoga, meditation, learning about yourself and your triggers, and taking a lot of time alone to assimilate everything that you are feeling. I mean, it's such a sign that's a sponge, like taking in everything from everybody else. Like, where's your energetic boundary? Is this you or is this me? Or, how do I work with those energies that are coming into my body? Because they're very empathic, feeling other people's feelings. So stepping into a room and being like, taking on everybody else's energy can be super overwhelming. And the idea then, or the action is to escape, to want to escape. Like, oh, I can take this. I don't like this.
I would agree with that. Disassociation comes up for me too. And sometimes it can be tricky because one of my go-tos for disassociation is restlessness. So I can look busy, but I'm really trying to avoid something in that process. So it's tricky because there's a productivity with it, but it's also can be used as an avoidance tactic. So that's hard. I really do resonate with the kind of struggling with like an untetheredness to life, like the basic foundation, basic needs of like keeping a structure, staying up on, you know, household maintenance and car maintenance and just
Adulting.
all the adulting. I mean, that's probably not just a Pisces thing, but that can be really hard for me. To be grounded in just the basic needs of life sometimes.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Good. Moving into the next week, we have a Virgo full moon, which is your moon. So literally born on a Virgo full moon on March 7th. And that same day, Saturn is moving into Pisces. So you have another return, which is your full moon, which is, I mean, every 28 days we return to the moon we're born with. Okay. So if you follow moon cycles, you have a moon birthday every month because the moon moves so quickly every 2.5 days into a new sign. So every month you always return back to your moon. And it just so happens that it's a full moon for you, right? So if you were born on the full moon of Virgo, and a Virgo full moon is a really good time to get stuff in order and organized and cleaned. It pulls us back down to earth out of Pisces season, because Pisces our head is in the clouds, very spiritual time. Virgo full moon, I know. Virgo full moon is like, excuse me, put on your shoes, get your feet on the earth. It's time to get serious. Like, what are you avoiding? What are you not doing? What are you scared of? You know, because Virgo is like, cautiously move into the next step. So a lot of times this is a really good time to clean your house. I know it seems strange, but Virgo likes orderly. And so I was just chatting with my daughter last night. She's Dee Dee's a Virgo rising. She's an Aquarius Virgo rising. I know. There's a lot with Virgos, and my husband is a Virgo as well. And we were chatting last night, and I told her, yeah, when the house feels in order, I feel like my life is in order. And she's like, oh my gosh, Mom, I feel the same way. Like with my room, she really likes to clean her room. And get it in order, like, especially on a Sunday, right before the week starts. And I love that she leans into those natural tendencies.
So cool.
That's so cool. Like my other daughter's a Leo rising, Cancer, Sun and Moon, and like chaos. Like everything is everywhere and it's just drama all the time and color and craziness. And I love that about them, that I can notice those natural tendencies of themselves. But, you know, as a Virgo moon, do you find that having things in order or clean or in their spot, not necessarily clean, because Virgos can be against clean, but very much for organized chaos. Like, this is my pile, this is my pile, this is my pile. But there is a sense of hygiene though, and cleanliness with Virgos, that always rinsing their hands, always washing their hands, always has like a sanitizing something, you know, and drives me insane. I mean, my husband's very, very much like that. Like we went on our trip with a sanitizing spray your hands, touching, and I'm just like, oh my God, stop, please, just let us, you know, do our thing. But it's very funny. It can get a little crazy, but so as you know, as a Virgo full moon, how do you feel about that?
You know, I do feel like there is this continual tension between my Pisces sun and my Virgo moon. So
you have the opposition.
There's an opposition. I think that can translate into like cleanliness or how I clean and tidy my house. I like my house to look, and this may sound like a generic term, but like I like it to look like an artist lives in my house. So I want it to feel slightly kind of chaotic and colorful and mismatched and yet creative. So I love having a space that feels like that really works for me. And I know that I need to have certain things in order. I actually know when my house gets messy, which it does probably, you know, fairly often, that I'm out of balance, that I'm too much, maybe in that sort of unhealthy, dreamy space and untethered, and then I need to get back untethered. As you were talking, I was thinking about cleaning. I am really drawn to purging my closet, deep cleaning, not like scrubbing, but like, how can I reorganize my house?
I love that.
So that
purging,
purging, or like I'm going to create a new filing system.
That's
to like, you know, go to the Container Store and get new things for organization. Like There are pieces around that feel way more exciting than daily maintenance cleaning. So I feel like there's maybe like
yes, there is more creativity in that, and there's like an intensity there.
We could do a whole thing on cleaning, probably.
Oh my God, yes, totally. The purging, the releasing and letting go of old things. Like I think about that. Have I used it in a year? You know, and I'm not so much like Marie Kondo, where it's like, what does she say? Does this bring you joy or spark you joy? But more of like, have I used it?
That's
like
Virgo.
It's very, very
practical,
practical, very useful. And then I end up getting rid of things that, which sometimes I probably shouldn't have, because then a few months later, I'm like, oh shoot, I really could use that.
Yeah.
But in my purging intensity,
it's like there's like a seduction.
Yeah, there's like a passion to it. And I'm like, I'm gonna recycle this and I'm gonna donate this and I'm gonna throw this away.
Minimalistically.
Yes, the minimalism of it. Yeah, the simplicity of it. Virgo loves that. So that full moon on the 7th, like it's a Tuesday, I think, March 7th. And that weekend before, but we're going to start feeling those energies the weekend before. And so if you can do anything like that, just clean and get it going and get stuff purged out, especially a full moon release. Do that. That's a really good time. Okay, so
where are we going next?
I just wanted to pull up, I was just looking in my book here because that day is really significant too, because Saturn is moving into Pisces.
Which day?
March 7th. So the same day as the full moon. Saturn rules Capricorn. So Saturn is already associated with earth signs and responsibility, right? And following the rules and the procedures and being safe and cautious and not taking risks. And it's been in Aquarius for the past 2.5 years. And when a big planet like that shifts, it shifts responsibility and discipline, Saturn, into a new area of your chart.
Okay.
A new area of your chart. And I love talking about this in your head reports.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because it gives us an idea of where Mr. Saturn, responsibility, Mr. Authority, responsibility, the person that is in your life, right? This planet that's in your life to tell you to follow the rules, to get serious, to come back down to reality, right? Because it's about structure, it's about foundation. And when Saturn moves through or transits through that part of your chart, again, Pisces is a big deal right now. Neptune is there, the sun is there, Mercury's going to be there. We have the new moon in Pisces.
Is Venus in Pisces too?
Venus, yeah, I forget. Is Venus currently in Pisces? I think it might be. We have a lot of emphasis on Pisces right now.
Okay.
That is, it's huge. So Venus just moved into Aries.
Okay.
Right.
So
it was in Pisces. Yeah.
Okay.
Saturn is moving into Pisces. And so look in your chart, Pisces again. Saturn is saying you have to do the work. Okay. It's going to get very responsible for you in that chart house. Okay. So for myself, so Saturn and Pisces, let's talk about a little bit about this. Saturn does not feel good in Pisces because Saturn very oppositional. Pisces is like ethereal and spiritual and loving and like, let's just go with the flow. And Saturn is like, there's no flow. You need a plan. You need to get your shit together. Pisces is like, don't matter. I'm just going to swim and float and be.
Yeah.
So when Saturn moves into Pisces, it's not a good feeling. I mean, it's not, it's hard, it's difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, Saturn's difficult anyways. It's
so that happens on March 7th.
March 7th. Okay. And that's going to be for 2.5 years. So actually almost 3 years due to retrograde. So 2026, I think is March 2026 when it moves out. So, I mean, it's a significant amount of time.
Long chunk of time for that.
Yes.
Oppositional feeling.
So Saturn and Pisces. So, I wanted to read a little bit about this. So there are some good aspects of this. Though.
Okay. Let's have it.
So, Saturn is a malefic, so it brings disappointment to our lives in those particular house. often. I know. It's, there's a harshness to it. There's a woe, there is a difficulty. And it was just in Aquarius. So I'm trying to think, I can't remember your house it's going to be in. What house is your sun in again? Because you're Sagittarius rising. So is that your third house? So Sagittarius, Aquarius, Pisces. Yeah,
Okay.
third house. So I was trying to think of a house that it's going to be in for you, because I know my house, what it's in.
What is it?
It's in the 10th house for me. So, oh my God. So Saturn and Pisces, though, the bad things in Pisces is that we don't want to anchor, and it's going to be harder for us to face reality. It's going to be harder for us to get down to the nitty gritty of the work. Okay. Sticking to our routine, sticking to our plan, sticking to our foundations. And what Saturn does is it oftentimes shakes our foundation and destroys it in order to rebuild it. So there is a positive situation. So right now, in this past week, like we are in the last throes of Aquarius. Okay, so whatever house it's been in Aquarius for you, mine is the 9th house. This is where you reap the rewards. So if you work with your Saturn in the house that it's transiting through, the most difficult times are often in the beginning, when it moves into the sign. With a new sign with Saturn. And then at the end could be difficult if you're not doing the work and facing the reality. It can be difficult, but if you are and you have been kind of working with it and doing what you're supposed to do, building a new foundation, you reap the reward at the end when it shifts into the new sign.
So how do we work with this energy?
So Saturn, right? Yes. With Pisces, anchoring in to your sense of spirituality. Anchoring in to your creativity and anchoring into your intuition are going to be vital. So creativity, intuition. Because Saturn is like, do you have that foundation? Because if you do, that's going to help you move through this time, depending on the house that it's in. So for example, I'm moving into a new position in my day job. So my day job is not astrologer yoga teacher, which I really think, I really would love that. But I do work for a fabulous place. And I'm going to be becoming a manager. And it's so magical and interesting and synchronistic that it basically is happening when Saturn moves into Pisces, which is my career house. Okay.
Fascinating,
right? I mean, I just sit back and like watch this, and I love to see that play out, in our charts, something so significant. And so, I mean, that's just like so life cycle, right? That is the epitome of the perfect example of a life cycle happening. Where Saturn is moving into my career house, more responsibility. I have to have more discipline, but I also have to anchor into that side of me that's not work.
That's right.
My emotional self, my home self. So playing between the two houses, which for me is the 10th house, it's in the 10th house of career and my purpose. And then the 4th house is the opposite. So it will be opposing the 4th house of home and family. And the emotional self, how you show up inside. The 10th house is how you show up in public. Okay. So really interesting. It'll be a really interesting time. And I'll be I hate to say this, I feel like I'll have to be way more responsible and disciplined with work, but there's a big emphasis on being okay to also rest and be home and balance those two. It's hugely important.
Very important.
So for you, it's the 3rd house, and it's the 9th house is your opposition. And the 3rd house is communication and how you are speaking, how you are writing, how are you displaying, learning as well. So, and travel, short distance travel. So short distance travel may be difficult to sometimes the Saturn makes things happen airlines cancel,
Okay,
tickets go
okay.
astray,
Now, what's short
reservations
distance?
change,
Like, what-
domestic travel.
Domestic travel, okay.
Because then the ninth house is international foreign travel.
And that's my opposite house?
Yeah, the opposite house.
So does
So
that mean things are
the
going great in that
interplay.
department?
it's opposing it, so
Opposing
not
it.
necessarily. So
Okay.
challenges and
All right, okay.
challenges and learning, and what Saturn wants you to do in that house too is to apply your knowledge. Are you sharing what you have learned with the world?
Whoa. Okay, that feels on point. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see
Okay.
how
Okay.
that plays out. And then also, are you listening to the messages of the divine? Because the third house is messages as well. And they're a little bit more concrete. It's not so much like water houses where we would feel into like divination type stuff, but I like, the third house is like what's being written in front of you. What are people telling you? Are you listening? Saturn says in the third house. Are we listening?
Okay.
But like the third house could be also like Saturn there. If you're a talker, if you're a oversharer, it wants you to listen more.
Okay.
If you step back and you never share, Saturn's like, you better speak up. You've got to network. You've got to talk to others. You've got to be in your community. So yeah, that interplay. So that's a big deal, like Saturn shifting into Pisces.
Okay.
Yeah. I find that, this kind of transit though with Saturn is, even though it's like, it doesn't feel good, it's also not as strict and intense, because like Saturn in Capricorn or Saturn in Earth signs it's destructive at times. It's more
just really hard.
It's very hard. It's unmoving. It's unshakable. And it's flexible.
Okay,
It's
so we
mutable.
got
It's adaptable.
Some mutability with discipline and
with
structure.
discipline and structure. Exactly.
Okay.
So finding a flow, but it might be a new flow. Okay.
Okay.
Then of course, spring starts when the sun enters Aries on March 20th. Spring starts in the northern hemisphere. Southern is fall. Springtime, it's the astrological new year. So we are stepping forward into a new year for astrology, because Aries is the infant. So where Pisces is the womb, Aries is the infant. It's the birth. Like you go through the birth canal and boom, Aries is the baby. And as a baby, what do? You're fresh, you're new, you're like, you are coming into this world as an individual.
Yeah.
That's your first house. The Aries rules the first house. Like, who am I and why am I here? And I can't wait to travel through the next 12 houses to develop who I am. I'm born. Second house, basic needs. Third house, how I communicate. Fourth house, where I live in my family. Fifth house, my love and creativity. Sixth house is my health and my routine. And then seventh house, relationships with other. Eighth house, facing my shadow of like my darker side. Ninth house, my belief system. And then 10th house, how I show up in the world, my purpose and my dharma. 11th house is my community and how I share my talents with others. And 12th house is assimilating everything. 12th house Pisces. So you go through the cycle of your life, right? Of the astrological
really well
new
done.
year.
Thank
you.
you for that.
Yeah. Just a little tiny basic words for those houses, but it's like your whole life in 12 months, and we cycle through differently every time because we're different every day. So then we have the new moon in Aries on the 21st, which I wanted to mention. This is really significant because there's 2 new moons in Aries season. This is crazy. And like usually we call 2 full moons blue moons.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what they call 2 new moons.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah. 2 new moons, but it's not in the same month though. So I think that's significant. Where 2 full moons in the same month as a blue moon. But anyway, so the 2 new moons, one starts on March 21st. This is very significant because this is a taste of what your eclipse in Aries new moon on April 20th will be like. Pay attention. March 21st, new moon in Aries. I mean, it's a new astrological cycle. Okay. And because there's 2 new moons, it's significant with the birth of who you are. Like, who are you as an infant?
Okay.
We are changing our perspective. The past 2.5, 3 years have changed us significantly.
Oh yeah.
And maybe that's why all of us are sort of in this space of like the breakdown of like,
Yep.
Yep. Who am I? What am I feeling? What's going on?
Yeah.
What's happening? Because there's a birth canal happening with this first eclipse, April 20th. And they're both ruled by Mars, April 20th and May 5th. We'll talk about those in April and the significance of that. But this new moon in Aries gives you a taste.
Yeah.
Find Aries in your chart, this new moon in that particular house. Mine is the 11th house, and that is community and friends and connection, technology, hopes and wishes for the future. Today in the shower, I had like this intense idea of like, I have to start this on the astrological new year. And I'm like, can I pull this off? I don't know if I can. Would anybody sign up? I don't know if anybody would sign up, but I had like this super intense like feeling of like, I have to do this. And it's already moving into that energy of springtime. Yeah. Which we can feel like these things don't happen that day. And that's why you have to feel that way on that day. No. The energies of what's happening in our chart can happen prior to or even after. Yeah, for sure. Good. Oh, yeah, I'm excited. So Aries for you would be your 4th house of family, of your home, you know, new beginnings there. And your sense of emotional security is 4th house as well. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any plans around the 20th, 21st? I mean, that's right after your birthday. Do you have anybody visiting significant, or are you going on any trips?
I might. There's a tentative trip planned potentially to see friends and family. So. Whoa. Yeah. Okay. Is that advised or not advised?
It is advised for you because the 4th house. Yeah. Okay. But Saturn into your 3rd house, right, of domestic travel, just be aware of could be a significant snowstorm, you know, or something could go awry. In order, you know, Saturn gives us those challenges to get us to grow. Saturn doesn't want you to go lay in bed and cry about the weather. You're like, okay, I'm gonna be a big girl, you know, and then if it snowed that day for my domestic travel, I just reschedule.
So having
Saturn's like be mature.
Pliable minds.
Yeah. Okay. Maturity there. Saturn is maturity. It matures us in the house that it's going through. So good. New moon, pay attention to that in Aries, March 21st. And then another huge shift is Pluto. My God, you guys. Pluto
on the 23rd of March.
23rd, thank you. Pluto is a big planet. Okay, I gotta tell you this because we went to the Griffith Observatory and they had like all the planets to scale. And I was looking at them and I said, well, where's Pluto? It was at the end and it was like the stick coming out because they had them like on these giant sticks and you could, it was so cool. I mean, it was so cool. Yeah. You could go and interactively work with the planet, which was wicked. Like it had the symbols.
That sounds so cool.
It didn't have the astrology of them. Of course, it was all based in astronomy because it is a planetarium, right? An observatory. But each one had these really cool aspects of like, how much do I weigh? They had like a weight thing. They had like qualities of that planet, the different elements and you know, how big it was and compared to Earth and all this stuff. But I looked up and I said, well, where's Pluto? And I asked the person, I said, where's Pluto? And I thought Pluto is like massive, like my idea of Pluto.
Oh, I think it's teeny tiny.
It's so small. Okay. It is so small. Like, I think what did they say? Like 45 Plutos can fit into Earth or something. I forget. I took a picture of it.
That's an interesting reference.
It's really interesting. It's so tiny, but it's hugely transformational. I love to connect, and I
like that.
Yeah, I want to put together like a class on astronomy and astrology together, so that we can see the qualities of the planet.
I'm in.
With the astrology of the planet and the history of like the the planet. So anyway, in the sign it rules, but Pluto rules Scorpio, and so does Mars. Mars rules Scorpio, but Pluto is transformation and its power. Okay, so when it travels through our particular area of our chart, find Aquarius. So Saturn is leaving Aquarius March 7th, going into Pisces.
Yep.
So this area of your chart has already been touched and transformed, changed. You found a lot of maturity and responsibility in that house through Saturn. Now Pluto steps in March 23rd and is like, you're not done yet.
Yeah.
You're still changing. You're still transforming. And so this is your second house.
Okay.
And it's my ninth house. So Pluto is the planet and it's so slow moving.
That's gonna stay a while.
Yeah, Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. Okay, so that is the house before your Aquarius house.
Okay, that was an interesting
It's been a
year.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Pluto in that house has transforming and changing, but it's so slow, right? It was 15 years.
Yeah.
And now Pluto moves into Aquarius for 20 years. It's not like Mercury that changes every 2 to 4 weeks, and it's really fast and crazy. It's all about communication. Pluto is like, we're going to slowly move you into transformation of that particular house that it's going through. And you're going to struggle with power and control in this house. It could be with authority figures. It could be with yourself, with your shadow, with your fears. Okay, so Pluto has been going through my Capricorn house, my 8th house, for the past 15 years. And I've really had to face a lot of fears about death, other people dying, emotional depths. Because the 8th house is the house that it literally rules, and you're in the natal or in the chart, like the regular chart. Yeah, it's a Scorpio house, 8th house. So Pluto in that house has been very intense for me, but being able to go through those super deep, dark challenges and fears has been instrumental for me to find the courage to actually be vulnerable and authentic and share my talents with the world too. So that's been helpful. But now it's moving into my 9th house, and the 9th house is belief system. So this can either have me go a couple ways, where it's like, I don't believe in anything anymore. What is even going on? I don't have any spiritual structure or over the next 20 years, or it could, in a way, make me more communicative and pushy about what I believe.
Okay.
So like this, talking more about like my spirituality,
like righteousness.
Yeah. And it rules publishing. So I already feel into this calling to get this astrology and yoga book going and like really put it out there, and trainings and all of this. So I feel like that's a part of it for me.
Yeah,
but just working that, and understanding I'm not a controlling person. So I feel like it's not going to spiral out of control, because my true nature is not controlling. So it's more fluid and mutable and adaptable and flexible. Not a lot of fixed energy there. But and so then your second house, the transformation of your basic resources, your income, sensuality and pleasures as well, finding comfort. So exploring those different aspects of also your self-worth and valuing what you value within yourself and others. So 2 big shifts. Those are huge. Pluto and Saturn for March. And then lastly, we have Mars enters Cancer. This is a big deal because Mars has been in Gemini since October 2022. Typically, Mars is in a sign for about 6 to 8 weeks. And with Mars moving into Cancer, it was in that Gemini for so long because it went through a really long retrograde cycle. And it was in Gemini, moved through it, went backwards, moved through it again. And now it's moving into Cancer, which I'm really, really looking forward to.
Awesome.
Because Mars in Gemini is your mind, right? So Gemini is the thinking mind. It's overthinking, overanalyzing. When Mars is there, there's a lot of action and passion and a lot of anger and frustration too in that thinking mind. So it's almost like we can't turn our minds off, and we can also have a lot of anxiety during that time. So Mars moving into Cancer gives it a little bit of softness, a slowness, more nurturing, more comfort, and more into the heart. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. So
Yeah.
find Cancer in your chart, and that's where Mars is going through.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll have more energy in that, actually more passion and energy in that sign. Mine's in the second house. And so, because Cancer is my second house and that's income. So I am expecting more money with my new position. So I bet that will shift with Mars, coming through there, because that is a lot of energy.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's exciting. So Cancer for you then would be,
It's 8.
so Gemini is your 7th house.
Okay.
So it's been in your relation house. Yeah, you're right. 8th house.
Yeah.
So Mars in your 8th house, it's one of the houses it rules. So, the 8th house is that, the psychological house, right? So the depths, the shadow, the fears, it's intimacy, sexuality.
Yes.
So discovering all of that, giving you more energy and passion, which will, since it rules sexuality and that's the house it rules. So yeah, like have fun. Good times. So yeah, just wanted to wrap up a little bit here about the birthday month. So yeah, we talked a little bit about like how the month before the solar return can be a little bit hard because we're like in reflection time. There's more pull towards introversion. And so you could be feeling that all the way up until your birthday. So like you said, your March is slowing down a little bit.
It is, yeah.
Compared to January and February. So maybe these next couple of weeks are a really good time to reflect on what this year meant to you.
Definitely. I'm loving that. I actually pulled out my Unravel Your Year. I'm really into it this year.
Yeah.
And I'm using it as a guidepost for looking back month by month intentionally and then looking forward. So yeah, I think that'll be, I'm going to use that as one of my tools to help me get grounded in that.
That's a great idea, because that Unravel Your Year, we mentioned that in our first video for January, and I can put a link to it again for this video coming out, but it's a really good resource for looking at month by month, the whole new year, and reflecting back as well. Like there's a lot of journaling prompts, there's a lot of reflection, there's a lot of processing that can be done. So yeah, good idea. And then Venus into Pisces, or you have Venus in Pisces, and like you have a lot of planets in Pisces, so Sun, Mercury, and Venus. And when the sun goes over those, transiting over, so when the sun is moving over what you were born with, that's a conjunction. And conjunctions are positive aspects.
Yes.
Conjunctions are new beginnings. So when the sun crosses over your sun, a new identity, a new sense of self, you're reborn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When the sun goes over your Mercury in Pisces, it's a new sense of being able to communicate from the heart, where it's giving that life force into your thinking mind, into the messages you're receiving. And then the sun transiting over her Venus. Venus is love and relationships. It gives life force to loving yourself and loving the other, and helping you in a positive way with mirroring the identity of the other for your own sense of self as well, and giving love and relationship nurturance there as well. So that's a conjunction.
Okay.
And when the conjunction happens, you can be feeling into more positive time, right? So that's why sometimes like our birthday and after can feel so good. It's like, I'm a fresh start, I'm a baby now. We're not, but you can feel that way. Like the world is brand new. Like, what can I start? And I know I want to just, recognize that birthdays are not always positive, right? And birthdays are not always the best thing in the world, right? A lot of people don't like birthdays. But we can change the script and know that you're in this world for a reason, and what you bring to it is important. Like, you are important. You mean a lot to the cycle of the world and your life and to those in it. So I just wanted to mention, because I'm a Virgo, so then there is another aspect going on for Virgos, and I talk about aspects a lot in Life Cycles Yoga. I write about them in their personalized horoscopes. where does the sun and moon touch, right? And so it's conjuncting with her, but for me, it's opposing. So in opposition, and you talked a little bit about this with your moon and your sun, there's an opposition there, and that's more of a negative aspect. So when the sun and Saturn and Neptune and the moon are all in Pisces in my 10th house, it's opposing my sun, because I'm a sun Virgo, a Mercury Virgo, and a Saturn Virgo. So I have the opposition of, like, right now I'm feeling really into, like, it's opposing like my Saturn.
Okay.
So the sun is opposing my Saturn, and I'm like, I hate responsibility. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I just want to sit on the couch and watch TV. Like, what the hell? You know, I don't want to have to sew the costumes for the school play. And I'm like, I don't want to have to teach 6 yoga classes this week. I just want to lay in my hot tub, you know, and that's Pisces season. And that's my opposition of, like, feeling really restricted, you know, and bogged down by that responsibility with the sun opposing my Saturn, sun opposing my Mercury, in a few weeks, where I can't find my words. And oftentimes my yoga classes I think that's when I came up with block it, like blanket and a block. Like I don't have any words. And I oftentimes tell my students, look, you know, I'm gonna say some weird things today, and it's because all this is happening. The sun is opposing my communication.
Some of your new words, I like.
Yeah. One thing I've let go of, though, is the shame around that, because my Mercury is in Virgo. So what I say with discernment, but I try to say with perfection, right? Because Virgos have this intensity for perfection, where I've let go of the shame and leaned into the humor of it.
Yes,
you know,
right on.
That it's funny and it's silly.
And it's human.
It's human. Yeah. My Gemini rising loves that. It's like, let it go. Who cares? It's funny. And then it opposes my sun, my sense of self. So come the end of, you know, Pisces season, my sense of self is like, who am I? What am I doing in this world? Does this, you know, imposter syndrome can come through. So struggling with that when the sun opposes my sun opposition sun, ego, right? And just being like, what is going on? So, birthday season.
That's right.
I can't wait to celebrate.
I'm excited.
Anything else you want to share before we say bye?
It's been fun.
Yeah.
Good. Great chatting.
This is our season, you know. We're going Pisces.
Yeah.
We are in it. And if you have any questions or any topics you'd like us to explore, please feel free to reach out. Again, Life Cycles Yoga, if you want to join Tuesday and Thursday mornings, you get a free little horoscope, which is just for your personalized chart. Where the sun, new moon, and full moon are, and then working with community too. We do little field trips, and we have fun too. If you're in town, we do have a couple ladies that are not in Colorado, but we still connect through community. We're also doing a book club over the next 5 months for the Yamas and Niyamas by Deborah Adele. We're going to be reading that and exploring the Yamas and Niyamas, which are the first 2 limbs of yoga. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining us from the heart. You know, we're really excited to share with you and connect with you, and take care.
Thank you.